Okay, so PHCAP PLC is a publicly listed company on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Been around for 65 years. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Been around for 65 years. Company started in 1957 as Imperial Chemical Industries, majorly just trading specialty chemicals. And, well, as I was saying, that ran for a couple of years. In 2008, Imperial was acquired by AkzoNobel. AkzoNobel is one of the largest player in the paint and coating segment globally. And that was in 2008. And of course, Akzo then moved out of Nigeria, and CAP acquired the franchise right to sell AkzoNobel products in Nigeria. Plus also manufacture some of their products in Nigeria. So today, CAP PLC is a technology franchisee of AkzoNobel in Nigeria, right? So we retail some of their products, but we also produce some of their products in Nigeria as well, in addition to our own brands, right? Like I said, CAP is currently the largest manufacturer in that space, and again, some of the things probably make sense if I'm projecting, but now that this has filled us, I'm just going to skip through a couple of the slides. I was trying to provide context around so you could see some of the story behind the numbers to help you with the analysis. I'm not sure how we're going to do that because it's then difficult to talk through charts that you can't see. Sorry.
From University of Guinea.
UNN.
Yes, Dr. Duru Erasmus AGK, Federal University of Technology.
Dr. Tijani, representing Ahmadu Bello University.
Please go fast. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Federal University, Lokoja. Ogoja. Sorry. Thank you.
Esther Lawal is my name, from Babcock University.
Chairman, I'm Dr. Lawal Country Yadibayo. Chairman, representing Upper of all
I'm from the University of Port Harcourt. My name is Kwanosike Dominic, representing Global University.
My name is Dr. Adeleke Adebowale, representing University of Ibadan.
Is that all?
Alright, my name is Tulu Akimbadi, and I'm representing Dr. Peter Lam from the University of Lagos.
My
name is Olajide Oluwatimileyin, and I'm representing Dr. Chukwemeka Ike from the University of Abuja.
Okay, I think that's.
I'm representing Dr. Innocent Unapa.
Okay. That's the Lagos Business School, the University of Lagos Business School. Okay, thank you very, very much. That helps a great deal, just knowing who I'll be talking to, and I'm impressed with the vastness of the representation. I think it cuts across the length and breadth of the country. There's ABU here, there's UNN, you know. I don't think anyone here is from AU, but there's UI, there's
Dr. Quadri, please stand up again for the television. Dr. Lawal Quadri Adebayo, department representing Oba of all universities. You are welcome.
Okay, it's fine. Okay. Thank you very much. You know, we now have lots of investors, so when you say Oba of all universities, I actually thought that.
There's actually no Oba of all universities. There's actually no Oba of all universities. But you said
Don't mind it.
they call the Oba Femi Awolowo University from the name Oba Femi as the Oba of all universities, but it's OAU for
Yeah,
short.
it's fine, it's fine. So thank you very much, everyone. I don't want us to get into the battle of who is Oba or who is Oba. Let's drop that. I think one advice I'd like to drop before we go into the session, and this is mainly for the participants, it's just that you know, maybe I got to know this much later in my career, but networking is as good as what you learn in class, right? So it's not just about the concept analysis, you know. Networking is real part. I mean, networking and exposure is really part of your education, right? So as much as you see people from other schools, you can pick up one or two things from what's happening on the other side and use that to become a more rounded person as you build your career. That's one point. Second point, also as you go along this journey, is understanding that you need to pick up soft skills in addition to your quantitative skills, right? So things around building a pitch book, you know, being good with reporting, presentations, speaking well, all those things should go with your quantitative side of analysis and all that, right? Just wanted to drop that before we start. So yes, we can go into this now. We kind of covered this already. This is the basic background about CAP PLC. Like I mentioned, 65-year-old company, started as Imperial Chemical Industries. In 2008, was acquired by AkzoNobel and transitioned into CAP PLC. Today, CAP PLC exists as a technology franchisee of AkzoNobel, selling some of their products in Nigeria, but also producing some of their products in Nigeria as well, in addition to other products, right? 3 years ago, there was a merger between CAP PLC and Portland Paint, and that became, I mean, the CAP that you know as of today is a result of that merger, right? So prior to that, CAP used to have two brands primarily, Dulux and Caplux, and Portland Paints used to have Santex, right? Dulux operates, so there are different segments of the market. I mean, part of what you guys probably would have seen is that, I mean, for every sector that you speak, that you pick, there are going to be different segments. I mean, there's the value segment, there's the mid-market, there's the premium, there's the ultra-premium, and that exists everywhere. I mean, whether you're picking electronics or you're picking whatever, you see that same market segment there. I mean, there are people who typically will say, I can only buy B&O. There are people who say, okay, I can do with Sony. There are people who say, I'll do LG. There are people who say, I'll do Bravia, right? They target different market segments, right? So the same thing with paints and coating, right? So what we've done is that we have products that cut across the different segments of the market. So what that merger between CAP PLC, the former CAP PLC, and Portland Paints did was provide CAP with products that could cut across all Dulux and Caplux used to be primarily premium, ultra premium, where Caplux was more around the value brand. Santex was a key brand within the mid-market segment, which is the largest segment of the market in any case. Right. So that merger then provides CAP with brands that could target different parts of the segment. As you know, for every company, you need managers, board of directors to chart the costs of the business. CAP is supported by a strong board of directors, board of experience, chairman Fola Shope, who also is the group CEO for UAC PLC. One thing I didn't mention is that UAC PLC is a majority shareholder in CAP PLC, owning just a little shy of 60% in the business. 57.85, so like I said, a little shy of 60%. So Fola, who is the group CEO for UAC, the board chairman, but then there are other people on the board who helps with, of course, number one is providing oversight to management, helps with strategy, but most importantly as well, also protecting shareholders' interest, right? Particularly, which is very important for the publicly listed entity. Managers of the business, our CEO, Olari Kunawa, manages the business on a day-to-day basis, implementing and ensuring that visions and strategy of the business brought to fruition, supported by different members of the team, which I am among. Generally, this is basically what we're trying to do. We have core values for which we are built on, and unfortunately, you guys couldn't be at the plant. I think the original plan was for you guys to be at the plant, for you to be in Ikeja. But that couldn't happen because one, we are currently going through an audit which started Thursday last week and is only going to end tomorrow. I think that was the primary factor. So because of that, we couldn't have you guys come to the facility. But I think maybe subsequently, if the CF decides that they can arrange anything, we'll be fine. But just that the timing was not convenient for this particular time. But the factory is located in Ikeja, somewhere very close to Guinness, somewhere along that Kabak. Is that Kabak, right? Yeah, Kabak, right? And that's where we have the factory, it's where the offices are as well. I talked about the brands the other time, and this is basically a different brand. Starting with Dulux Trade, which is the one that's our brand for the ultra premium segment. That brand, we basically trade just like the name. We basically trade that brand, meaning that it's not manufactured in Nigeria. It comes from AkzoNobel, the South African entity, shipped to us, and then we sell it in Nigeria. But the other brands are produced here. So we do Dulux Colors. Dulux Colors is for the premium segment. Caplux and Santex, the standard segment, which can also say the mid market. We currently do not have, I was talking about really attacking the different segments of the market, but we currently do not have any brand in the, we'll call it the value brand, but that's like the floor brand, where most of the time what you're competing on is price and not really, product offering or quality. We don't have any brand for that. Our MPEL brand is for industrial, meaning that, so there are lots of cool things that happen in the industrial space as well. Oil and gas, your ships and all that needs to be coated against the erosion, rust and all that. So the MPEL brand does that for us. In terms of market positioning, our Dulux brand is, Dulux Trade is number one in the ultra premium segment. It's also Dulux Color is also number one in the premium segment. Santex is number two in the standard segment. Capilux is number 3 in the standard segment, and MPEL is number 2 in the industrial segment. So again, all our brands are market-leading brands. In terms of presence, right, we're present almost everywhere in Nigeria, except for two states, 3 states actually. Then the rest of the states, with about 109 centers. The way we structure, we have Dulux color shops, we have Dulux color centers, and very recently, as well as a result of the merger, we have Santex stores as well. This is, when you go to any of our stores, this is what we have. Over the last 2 years, what we've tried to do is to improve the customer experience in any of our centers, right? So what you see is that we want you to be able to get a better feel, be comfortable when you go to the different centers. So we've done a lot of upgrade in all our centers over the last 2 years. One of the new innovations we've also recently introduced, which we've moved to our centers, is that you can get any color. Your colors can be tinted for you in the center, right? So if you have an idea, you're at home, you have an idea, okay, I don't want the standard color. I don't want the standard colors. I want something that looks like this and this like this. You can go to any of our centers. You can share the inspiration with someone there, and they can actually tint your color for you directly in the shop, right? So it's one of the way one of the innovations we brought into the market, which has changed the face of the market, because what we then have is that we've seen our competitors also trying to do the same thing as well. Here, just giving tutorial visualization of what our stores looks like. Really nothing. This is probably one of the things you probably want to see. But this is all known. This is just describing the macro headwinds that all companies have been facing. It's been trying times. In recent, 2023 has been an amazing year, if I put it that way. Got some significant headwind, FX, with a lot of other things, inflation out of the window. Every macro indices is definitely not where we want them to be at this point in time. So you can see this chart really just showing you how 8 years back we have our GDP growing at 6.2%. But that's the best we've done in the last 10 years, right? Last year we had 3.1. Okay. Last year we 3.1 grew by 3.1%. This year is definitely far less from what we've seen. Estimate numbers will be about 1.7%, which is about less than what we did last year. Exchange rate, again, I guess it's as good as mine. If you brought in money 8 years ago into the country at 171, and you're trying to take it out today at 1,170, you already lost 10 times the value of that money, right? So it's a significant problem that needs to be addressed. Inflation already as well. 18.8% as the official number for last year. We know that this year we're already tracking close to 30%. Last number by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics has inflation at about 27%. So we're tracking close to 30% already on that. And again, fueling, with the removal of subsidy is also something that's impacted a lot of companies, because if you need to move your products from the factory up onto your customers, then you would then need to, your cost would have increased as well. So that's impacted almost every business. It's not a CAP specific problem. It's what has impacted the entire business operating in the country. But I just felt it's important to point that out. But despite that, we're still pushing through. The company has continued to increase its revenues, and but also backed by increasing volumes as well. So it's not just that. You could increase revenue. We all know everybody here is finance, right? So we all know that revenue is a function of volume and price, right? So you could increase your revenue by just increasing price, which generally doesn't mean that you are selling more, right? But it's good to see that you can increase revenue. By increasing volume, it also means that you're increasing your market share, your market penetration as well. And so that's what you've seen on this chart. Again, I think the one that's important here is that not just increasing revenues, but also managing costs well, so that your EBIT, everybody knows what EBIT is, right? Okay. So that your EBIT is also, growing. Not so much to talk about here, but I think the important thing, and I'm going to point this out just because you guys are doing challenge and analyzing, is one thing I mentioned was that the merger brought two companies together, the old CAP and Portland, right? The old CAP was majorly in the premium and ultra premium side, market, meaning that he also enjoys significant, because they are selling premium products, it also means that they enjoy significant margins on their products in terms of gross margins. But when you come to Santex, it's a bigger market, but again, the margins are smaller. So when you have that combination, you see that CAP PLC then had a drop. You can see that dropping, more particularly gross margin, you can see that drop from the highs of 14% down to now we're doing about 39. But again, that's because of the company became bigger, but then the margin dropped because you now have products that are attacking the much lower segment. So here basically just covering number of employees. I think what's important about this slide is how we've simply been able to increase revenue per employee and EBIT per employee, which means that massive shout out to the employees at CAP being able to ensure that the output and productivity per employee is going to increase. This is not showing properly. I don't know why. But this slide is definitely meant to show you the drivers of our growth over the last couple of years. And I thought that probably well, I don't know why it's not showing. But this is supposed to show you how we've moved from 2018 and what has contributed to the growth that we have. But basically what this shows you is that these two buckets are brands that we have, that the old CAP has, right? Essentially, the basic conversation from this slide is just to show that the merger, although the bigger CAP PLC is deriving benefit from the merger, is also being able to grow his own old brands as well, right? So this is the old brands, our CAP brands, and this is Santex, which is coming from the merger, right? So that's the whole essence of that. That's the whole essence of that slide. And in terms of that, how that has, this is not showing, but this is volume. So this part of the growth is from volume. This part of the growth is from price. And this is volume. The thing they say about be careful what you wish for. Okay. So that's what's happening now, because I think we could see all the numbers before. Okay. So this is showing channel performance, and when we talk about channel performance, we're talking about our different brands, right? And that just shows you how try to grow, not just in terms of, I think some of the slides I'm going to show now is just showing the fact that despite the merger, right, the merger is positioned to grow CAP more, but it's not because growth within the old CAPs has stopped, right? Sometimes you do a merger because you feel like, oh, this company is already mature, there's really no good prospect. Okay, let's go merge, or let's go acquire a different business that still has a lot of growth prospects, right? But that isn't the story here, right? The old CAP still has significant growth opportunity, which we continue to explore, but of course the merger then puts you in a different atmosphere. So that's what's showing here. So here, this is showing you that here, I told you that we sell our products through our different stores across the country. The number here, maybe these are some of the slides I'll probably share, but the number here shows you our number at 2018, right? The stores that we have pre-2018. And this is the value that those stores has delivered on the path of our growth from that time. Although the new stores that we opened have also delivered value as well. And then we have asset stores delivering this value. So that's the essence of that slide. Again, the slide is going to cheat you out here. But it's major here. What I try to do is just show you the brand performance at different brands, how they've grown over the years. Some has been by virtue of volume, some have been by you have this number already. I can still share it, but it's publicly available. But basically, we've grown revenues compared to last year. We've done better across most of the metrics. Revenue is up by 17%, volume is up by 13%, gross profit is up by 11%, VAT is up by 17%. Everything. Cash on our books is up by 24%, net assets up by 31%. So we've had a bit of deterioration in the cash cycle, right, which is not unexpected because of the macro headwind, which will mean that some of your receivables might take longer for you to collect, right? As people are not running around cash as quickly as possible. Same number, just presented as a P&L format. Like I said, 9 months revenue up by 17%. At this point, last year we only made 13 billion. 9 months this year, 8 billion. But yes, that's those numbers. You won't see this well, but this is just showing brand contribution. How different brands have contributed to those numbers, and you will see that Dulux continues to be our most significant brand in terms of contribution, good value, both in terms of value and volume, right? And as I've explained, our Dulux brand plays in the ultra premium and also premium, right? But it is in the decorative space. Okay. Don't let me say too much because then I'll make your life easy. I don't think that's an intentional challenge. But yes, brand contribution. I'm going to flip through quickly so that we can have a lot of time for questions, and I think that will probably help you more than going through the slides. That's what we've done today. So what's the plan for CAP going into the future? Probably the most important part for you guys. Because when you're doing your equity research analysis, the value that you think of the business today is based on what you think their outlook is, right? So if you think this company is shitty over the next 5 years, then it's of no value. The reason why you invest in the business today is because it has a prospect to grow tomorrow. If there's no prospect, there's no need to put money there. Again, I'm just going to be as shallow as possible. forgive me for saying that in this slide. Maybe not too much context because again, it's a publicly listed company. There could be things that are market sensitive, and so I'll go through them, but maybe as brief as it can be. Our key intention is we want to continue with what we've been doing. So basically, just dominate the market. We believe that we can still do better with respect to our retail concentration. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to put it in context for what you can bring home. So, how many people are Christians here? I'm sorry to go in that direction. How many people go to RCCG? Okay. And you know that concept of we want to have every church in 10 something radius? Exactly. That's concentration. That's what we're trying to do. Today we have 19 stores, which would mean that if I compare that with the length and breadth of the country in terms of, again, not length and breadth, we have to be thinking of addressable markets. I mean, we can't sell paints to everybody. I mean, somebody that's probably staying in the models will not need that paint, right? But if you think of addressable markets, we want to reduce the number of travel or kilometer radius that you need to travel before you get to. That's one of the things we want to do, and that's what's going to drive our cost for retail business, right? We have, good comparables. If you look at comparables in other markets, similar markets that you see like Nigeria, you pick India, you pick Indonesia. The key leaders in those segments have much smaller, much higher concentration than we should have, right? So we want to be able to mirror some of those things and do that. Yeah. We definitely want to continue with winning brands. I've shown a slide that shows you that all our brands are market leaders. Please.
I find it hard to hear you.
Just.
Yes,
okay. Yeah. Do you need me to go back a bit?
yes.
No.
Yes.
From which part?
The part where you were talking about the strategies after the increased retail contribution, that's where we stopped hearing you.
Yeah, retail concentration, right? Yeah, so that's what we're still on. So I'm just saying that we would like to. We've looked at other leading paint and coating player in other markets that are similar to Nigeria, and we've seen that their retail concentration is much higher than what we have here. And so part of what we want to do is to really just mirror some of that. We want to reduce the number of kilometer radius you need to travel before you get to any of our stores to buy a product. And so we want to continue with that quest to just continue to expand the number of stores that we have. And then moved on to brands. I showed a slide which basically shows you that all our brands as of today are market leading brands. I mean, it's not number one true, all true, but between 1 and 3 in all the segments. We want to continue to do that. Most importantly, we want to be able to be number one in the standard segment, which is the biggest pie of the entire market. Right? Product portfolio, we want to do a lot more in that. We have Empel, which is our brand that attacks or that targets the industrial segment. But we want to really do a lot with that, particularly going by the reforms that we are seeing in the oil and gas space. Of course, there are also other products that we are not in at today. If you look at other markets, there are products for wood care, there are products for automobile, for example, right? The fact that we don't have an industrial base in Nigeria also limits what you can do with paint. We're hopeful that as the economy begins to turn around with some of the reforms that we're seeing, it will go short-term painful, but we are hopeful that the outlook, if we continue with the reforms, will lead to a spike in the GDP growth, and we need to see some of those things materialize. Product availability, just ensuring that products are available at all times. We've had a bit of challenges this year with FX. The challenges that we've had this year is not just about the spike in FX, it's also a lot around availability, right? So even if you want to buy your dollar or whatever it is at 2,000 naira, but it's not available, there's really nothing that you can do, right? So what we're doing on the production side is ensuring, putting measures in place to ensure that products are always available, which would mean that your raw material are always available at every time. Part of that might mean that you have to keep your inventory. I mean, you have to increase your storage days of your raw material. So if typically I would keep a few days or a few months of raw material for an imported product, it would then mean that I'm thinking, this one that I have access to those, and now let me just be able to buy them, even if it means that in 6 months I keep them because I don't know the next time I'm going to get products. Right? So those are some of the things we put in place, but product availability is essential, totally essential, right? The way it works in a competitive market is that if I like you and I show up in your store and your product is not available and I said, oh sorry, my product is not available, you're not going to say, let me say 99% of people will not say, let me wait until you're available. They probably will move to the conversation. So, ensuring that your product is available is something we want to do. We want to continue to leverage technology, right, to do a lot of things. And I'm not, this is a very important piece for us. And there are lots of innovation, there are lots of process improvement, there are a lot of efficiency that comes with leveraging technology. And we are definitely implementing a lot of ways to ease and drive efficiency across our businesses, both on the operation side and even in the terms of decision making. I mentioned, I mentioned at the beginning of the session that I've spent about a year doing, things on data analytics, doing machine learning, doing, AI. One of the things that's becoming interesting on a global perspective is that you could pick up a lot of data points and actually begin to optimize where your stores are located, right? So you could pick up data points based on how some of our current stores are doing and say these are high-performing stores, and so these are the parameters that are around those stores, and you could use that to determine where your future stores will be located, just ensuring that you are getting optimal performance from some of them. So, this is just an example of we'll be leveraging technology as much as possible, and of course, just building professionals that we said here. We started an initiative in-house where we now have a painters academy within CAP. Basically, it is tying up with painters. What we found out is that in our space, most of the time people defer to painters to take a decision, right? And even from me, from a personal point of view, I remember the few times I've had to paint. I would always get a painter, so once you ask where can I get a good painter? Someone says, okay, this guy is a good painter. But most of the time, you don't have an idea what you want to use. So you tell the painter and say, which one is the one that people are using now or something like that, right? And it's the one that will then say, what's your budget? And you say, okay, based on your budget, you can then size you up whether you want in the premium, or you want in the standard, or you want in the mid. And you'll be the one to tell you that, this is the one that you should buy, right? So one of the things we're doing is actually building a lot of, a collaborative initiative with painters, where Painters Academy, we bring them in, we tell them a lot about products, how it's different from others. We're also building an initiative, through our website, where people coming to our website can tell us if they need some form of consultancy or need an idea. And most of them sometimes will say they need a painter. And so, apart from the fact that we're teaching people, we're also using as a network where we could give them jobs as well. And that helps with building that collaboration just helps with gaining their trust, and we want to ensure that anytime they are asked to recommend a product, one of our brands will be the one that is topmost of their mind. So and I mentioned this about the reason why we still believe so much in Nigeria. I know that sometimes it's tough to do. There's still significant gap that exists in Nigeria. Nigeria is still an underserved market. And this chart basically shows your consumption per capita in a couple of different markets, right? And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita is much higher than in Nigeria. And you will see that in most countries, the consumption per capita that you probably would think are not as sophisticated as Nigeria. The paint consumption per capita is much higher. So Uganda, see Ghana, see Botswana, see Namibia, see Zambia. They're still very, very small, as less than 2 liters per person per capita. So we want to, it's part of the reason why we are driving our retail dominance. We want our stores to be available. We want to get to sell paint as much as long as we believe that there are people in that area that want to buy paint. So yeah, I mean, this brings it to the end. I mean, we're here, we're driving growth, we still believe a lot in this market, and we believe that we can continue to drive growth in this market. Being a technology franchisee for AkzoNobel also gives us opportunity because that franchisee agreement is not just for Nigeria, we also have it for some selected West African countries and Central African countries. It also means that we can begin to think of expanding into some of these markets in the near term. Cameroon can be very interesting and some of these markets. We already have those franchisee agreements already, and so it's just a matter of execution. So, I mean, at this point, I am going to stop and, of course, take questions as we see them fit. So, I mean, for questions, please just raise your hand, and then I will take them if they are questions.
So, thank you very much for the presentation. While talking about the market segmentation, I want to ask, is it done by price or product? While talking about the market segmentation of the products, is it done by the pricing or the price of the goods or the product and the quality of the product?
So they are very positively correlated, right? So our more expensive products are more quality products, right? So there's no situation of when a product is expensive, but it's just expensive because it's we think people can afford that. The most significant thing in paint is about spread rates. And spread rates would mean that how many liters does it take you to paint your room, right? It will mean that if I put a swipe on the wall, will this stay, or do I need 2 coatings? Do I need 3 coatings? Do I need 4 coatings before it stays, right? From a spread rate perspective, we believe that our products are still the cheapest in the market, right? But from a buying perspective, so if you are going there to buy a 5 liter of our product versus a 5 liter of another product, it might be more expensive, but what my 5 liter will do for you, the other 5 liter won't do for you. You probably need to buy 2 5 liters to do the same spread that my 5 liter will do for you. And so that's what really determines quality in paint, right? And so it's so again, the question is it based on price or is it based on quality? The two of them are tied in this case, and so yes, it's based on quality. Any other question? Please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Francis. Thank you so much for the presentation. I wanted to ask, as a paint manufacturer, could you please speak to some environmental issues associated with the production? How you measure that? How you keep that performance?
Okay, thank you very much. Very fantastic question. Right. So I'm going to speak about how that sort of consideration has evolved over time, and how it is now a significant part for not just CAP, for any business, in today's world, as we struggle with climate change and a lot of other environmental consideration. So what's happened? So in today's landscape, right? Whether you like it or not, you just have a regulator that is sitting on your back, that is measuring your compliance with the environmental regulator. I mentioned the fact that we're doing an audit. The audits we've been doing since the last week is about EMS, it's the Environmental Management System, right? And they've been with us since Thursday last week. It's the reason why you guys have us in the facility. So it's something that is significantly important to a paint manufacturer like ours and all paint manufacturers, for example. If you know, I mean, in terms of painting, there are definitely two different bases, right? Paint typically will be the base and there will be your colorant, right? Your base is either water soluble or, the other one, which is mostly your toluene or that comes from hydrocarbon, right? The one with water soluble is your emotion most of the time, right? So we paint, and for some of us which want to paint our house because you want to do DIY and you don't want to pay painters more money, right? You notice that, I mean, for those emotions, it comes on you. You can easily have your bath, and it will be off, right? For the other ones, which is more products of, and so those ones are not as sensitive to the environment as the ones that are chemical driven, which are the ones where sometimes you need to use kerosene or you need to use petrol to clean the roof, right? So what we do is just ensure that waste from the plant are broken down. So there's a waste management system facility that ensures that the hydrocarbons are broken down into a safer element before they can be released to the environment. And again, like I said, we have regulators tracking our performance with respect to effluent on a frequent basis. So that's how we manage it. Yes. But they won't hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Okay. No.
Didn't get the question.
Okay. So
Can help you amplify the question.
our question, she asked if at any point in time in future we are going to be producing deluxe trade in Nigeria. And my response is that no, it's not part of our core plan. Like I think it's very easy. I mean, the markets we want to focus on are the markets that we know will do well in terms of volume, whether you have, growing GDP or without, right? Like you've seen with our numbers, we've only been able to grow the deluxe trade just on a price basis, right? Top quality, high quality, ultra premium, spread rate, fantastic, but in a place where people are struggling, whether they can balance their food budget or not, right? People won't be thinking of, oh, I want my paints to be the best, right? Even if you are trying to paint your house, you want to do it at the minimum budget, right? So it's not something that we're thinking of focusing on in the immediate.
So you mentioned that you're not producing.
Yeah.
So what are the areas like you have source there and are you planning to extend this?
Okay, so next question is, I had mentioned that we're not available in 3 states. What are the reasons why we're not there, and are we planning that will be available in those 3 states, right? So yes, we're not available in 3 states. Why are we not available? It takes a bit of dynamics. I mean, the way our business model is a bit different. So as of today, right, we work with partners, right? So we don't go to set up the stores ourselves, right? So if you think more like a distributor model, right, it's technically closed, where you see a partner that it's in a particular locality and is ready to set up a store, right? We then we support them with different things, provide tinting machine, provide staffing and a couple of other things. And that's the reason why we call them partners, because there's something they bring to the table, but there's also something we bring to the table as well, right? But we need to be able to identify partners in a particular location before we go there. As of today, we don't do corporate-led stores, which will mean that we go to a particular location and just put up a store, right? It's part of managing the cost, right? But also from an oversight point of view, if I have a partner that has an interest in a business and is located in Lokoja, is located in Sokoto, I don't necessarily need to go to Sokoto all the time because that person has an interest in that business, right? Ensuring that the business does well, increasing the market size or the market penetration of that product is as well that person's interest as well as it is mine, right? So part of the reason why we are using that model is because it just helps a lot with oversight. Are we planning to be in those states? Yes, we are constantly looking for partners in those places where we are not available. But that's not as much as important as our quest for, like I mentioned, we want to, multiply the number of stores that are available, right? And but that doesn't mean that if I'm thinking about my next 3 stores, doesn't mean that it has to be in those places where we are not available, right? Like I said, we are now leveraging technology and trying to ensure that we are tracking stores that are performing optimally well. We're tracking parameters around those locations, and we are using that as a sort of predictive analytics to ensure that wherever our next store will be, we'll mirror some of those and provide a case for justification that, okay, it looks as if this store will do well in this location, right? So it really depends on the viability of a particular location before we set up there. So you can think of, you could have location that would have 3 stores, and you could have location that would have 1 store, right? It doesn't mean that we've done too much on one side and done less on the other side. It's just always about the viability of a particular location that will make us go to that will make us go to that location. So as we do our quest to also go to be present, to double our numbers, triple our numbers over the next coming years, is really going to be driven by data points and not just the urge to say, oh, we are not here, let's go here. The numbers must justify the reason why we're going to a particular place. Is there any follow-up question on that? Okay.
Well, my name is Nancy Okoye from the Coast City University, Department of Accountancy. So my question goes, I wanted to ask, are there any governmental policies challenging you as a manufacturing company that you would want to let us in and know how you've been able to overcome them? Governmental policies that are challenging you.
Okay, so the question again, she's trying to understand and clarify if I get the question right. Just understanding some of the regulatory challenges that we have as a business, right? I think the biggest, it's around, so it's not specific to CAP, and I really do not think it's specific to the paint and coating segment as well. It's more about the general economic condition, and sometimes there could be policies around that. It could be policy, it could be, okay, don't let me go into things that might move into politics, but exactly, the general macro conditions or the general any policy that kind of impacts the general macroeconomic condition of the country will impact us as an operating entity, right? So there is nothing specific to CAP per se, that would say, is a challenge right now. I think the biggest challenge for us has been around the FX as at stake. And that's both in terms of availability and the direction in which it is moving and how quickly it is moving in that direction. Okay. Sorry, let me take some answers back.
My name is from Lagos State University.
Okay.
Okay, so my question is, what are the major collaborations the organization has been able to establish over the years?
Collaboration with
the major collaboration, like maybe other companies or industry or something like that.
Okay, so collaboration, and I ask because it could be from a business point of view, and it could also be from a CSR point of view, right? And that's why I kind of wanted to clarify. But in terms of major partnerships, like I've shown, you will see that with AkzoNobel, and also with Empel. And those are brands that we don't produce. We don't own some of them we don't produce ourselves, some of them we don't own the trademark, right? And so they have to give us the right to produce them, right? So those are key partnerships for us, right? And I think for Empel is particularly very important for us, especially as we believe that the industrial space is going to open up in coming years, and then it will be something that is massive, right? So yes, I mean and that's on the partnership on the business side. On the corporate social responsibility or just being socially responsible side, I think we have tons of partnership. We continue to. I mean, one of the things we say in-house is that we're trying to build a new Africa that is driven, inspired by colors. And so we continue to do that every day. Almost every weekend you will see us painting maybe an orphanage or a painting in school. We had one last weekend, we're going to do another one next weekend. So we continue to do that, right? So on that, it's something that we do on a very, very regular basis. So yes.
My name is Corey from Federal Investor Ekiti. Now you said earlier that the way Department of Accounting.
Okay.
You said the way you maintain your competitive advantage is charging the cheapest price.
Charging?
Cheapest price.
Yeah, yes, sir.
It's cheaper.
You said you have the cheapest price.
From a quality point, not from a shelving point of view, right? If you go to the market, you probably won't say our product as cheapest. I'm saying from a usage point of view, right? And so that's, I believe that products will give you the cheapest on a spread rate basis, not in time that products are the cheapest.
I'm still going to shop. Alright. So how do you navigate through inflation now and still maintain charging the cheapest price at that much quantity?
Okay. So I would still again. I'm just going to rehash it so that you don't go with a different impression. I didn't say the cheapest on the shelf price basis, right? So one of the things we do, but then again, the question is if we are focused on cost as an important element to driving our market penetration. How do we navigate around things like inflation? How do we navigate around inflationary pressure? Does that kind of, okay. So, so yes, cost is important. We want to ensure that we keep our products, we make our products available at the cheapest price possible. And please know that cheapest price possible doesn't mean the cheapest in the market, right? But again, number one for us is still ensuring that our quality and our offerings are not diluted, right? So a key important piece for us, like I keep saying, is the spread rate, right? And your spread rate, again, if you take 1 square kilometer wall and you ask yourself, how many liters of paint will it take me to effectively coat this wall, right? We want to ensure that our product is going to be the one that will give you the minimum number of liters that is required, right? But does that mean that, if you go to the market and say, okay, I want to buy 5 liters of Dulux, it's going to be cheaper than 5 liters of brand B? No. But we want to ensure that what my 5 liter of Dulux will deliver to you will be more than what the 5 liter of the next brand will deliver to you, right? So that's what I mean by cheapest. How do we manage around inflation? It's a tough environment. Everybody's taking, I can show you, you already saw that my margins are dipping. So we can go back there. It's been, you can see my EBIT margin, you see, and even this year, maybe a bit less as well, right? But yes, we're taking part of the pain, but we're also trying as much as possible to transfer. It's the reason why you see cost of goods and services also going up in the market. Because as you take in the cost as well, you need to transfer some of the cost. What we do primarily as a business is that we have something we call naked margin, right? Which is what is the margin for this product after considering all the raw materials that I use for them. Again, here is just raw material, not direct cost of production. So it doesn't include, the direct labor expenses or other things, or distribution. Just my raw material expense, right? right? We track that, and we have as a policy the minimum naked margin that we can take as a business, right? And so every time we have an increase, we have that inflationary pressure that pushes raw material up. We then have to ask ourselves that, okay, this is the naked margin as a result of that. What part of this can we bear? What part of this do we need to shape up? Now we do that relative to what are our competitors doing. Although, like I said, product quality is what we want to continue to drive. But again, you can't do it blindfold and say, I don't care what others are doing. We want to maintain our dominance in the market. We want to maintain our leading market share in the market. So we do that, proactively, right? And it's something that is difficult. So you can take it as you are juggling a lot of balls at the same time. And but it's not just CAP. It's everybody that is operating in this business, in this market at this point in time.
Right. My name is Emmanuel, a student of economics from Ahmad Bello University area.
Right.
So I understand that there are diverse modalities or indices in measuring the general health of the company. But I really want to ask, are there certain indices that CAP PLC normally take note of in measuring the overall performance of health of the company that is quite unique to CAP PLC?
Okay, so, and I'm going to answer that in a very, not so direct, right? And the reason is because, CAP is a publicly listed company, right? Because of that, we are sensitive to metrics that are important to the public, right? I think that's the reason why a publicly listed company is different from a private listed company, right? For example, a private listed company can choose not to pay dividend and say, we're not paying dividend this year because we want to, reinvest that funds and grow our business, right? It's an index and it makes sense. A publicly listed company can say, I want to do the same, but you need to ask yourself, what does it tell the market, right? Particularly if you're in the market that is driven by dividend yield, right? People are tracking and say, the only way we think that this business is good is because of, GTB is paying, sorry, I'm sorry to refer to GTB. This company is paying this number, they are consistent in their dividend policy and they pay dividend every year. If you're operating in a market where once suddenly people feel that even if you have a genuine interest of not paying dividends, okay, we have a massive ambition, growth plans, we're trying to reinvest what we should have paid as dividend and put it and grow the business. If you believe that the market is not mature enough, sorry to use that word, and the performance of businesses are determined by equity researchers because of who is paying dividend and who is not paying dividend, then you have to be mindful to what the market is sensitive to, right? So as a listed company, as much as we track, what we have metrics that guides the health of the business. Again, I've shown some of them where, we're always watching our EBIT margins and the operating profits. We want to also ensure that we are not just growing revenue, but we are also growing volume as well, PAT. But most importantly, you need to ensure that you are aligned with the market with respect to expectations. Again, like I said, because it's a publicly listed company. Number two, right? Number two? Okay. Number two.
Lovely afternoon, everybody. My name is Liv Tirabo. I'm from the Department from the University of New My question is, I read that from how do you cut down costs?
Can't hear you.
Okay, let me just. How do you cut down on costs, especially haulage costs and production costs? With regards to the removal of force subsidy, with regards to the removal of force subsidy, because as it showed in the presentation, that has really affected the financials. So do you have other modes of productions aside from using diesel plants or oil plants? It could be solar or any other thing. So I need clarity of that.
Sorry, you need to take the second one because I was a bit distracted. Sorry.
I don't need to go on production.
No. Just do the second one.
You have said
I got the first one. I didn't get the second one.
Okay, my question is, how do you call that cost? Especially college and college cost. Especially college cost and production cost due to the removal of the foreign subsidy. Because as shown in your financials that your costs has greatly improved, like your operating expenses. So do you have other means you use in producing this product and transporting this product? It could be solar or I don't know. So I need clarity on that.
Okay. Thank you, Gift. So my response to that is that how do you manage haulage costs? There are a couple of ways. I think one of the things we try to do now is do route optimization. So ensuring that products are shipped along the same route and shipped together, right? And so that would also mean that we are constantly engaging our partners to say, oh guys, before we used to deliver anything you order, we need to deliver it within 48 hours. But because now we're trying to optimize our routes, can we please extend that to 7 days? And which will mean that all the orders that we kind of collect together along that route, we can ship them one time instead of running multiple cycles. So that's one. Two, on the production cost side is more around then having an effective R&D team. So one of the things we've also done is, we've built a, good resource of, R&D, where on a daily basis we're constantly looking for cheaper alternatives to make our paint products, right? Without changing color, without changing quality, without using anything, right? And so that's what the R&D team is for. And it's not something that we do for one. It's not something that it's over the night. It's something that takes a long time. So you have R&D say, okay, this cost has moved up. I mean, if we see evolution of a particular raw material continue to blow out of proportion, we would pick that up and begin to look for substitutes for it. And the reason why we pick it up early is because it takes a long time. I mean, R&D can't just come and say, okay, this is a likely substitute, right? We need to produce that product, keep it in-house, use it for painting in-house, check how it goes over the next couple of 6 months before we can even launch any product, right? So it's having an effective R&D so that even though you can bear with that cost for the next 6 months, but if you're able to get a cheaper alternative, in month 1 month, so it means that down the line, you can switch to that cheaper alternative and use that to manage your costs. So those are the two key ways in which we kind of manage both haulage costs and the general production costs.
Alright, thank you.
Number 3.
Sir.
Okay, my name is Darren Lawal from London University, Zaria. So I would like to ask, if you really talk about MPL and Capital's color centers and color shops, are they not really available? And then my second question is, does the company CAP PLC, do you guys have a backward integration plan regarding your raw material sourcing? Then the last question is, I'd like to know the parent company, like which group is it absolutely available this each of the groups. For instance, let me say MTN now, non-MTN plus your MTN. So which group does CAP PLC?
Okay, thank you. Brilliant question. So I'll start from the last, and maybe I'll miss one of them. But just remind me which group do we belong to. So CAP is on the. So the group you belong to is a function of who owns you, your shareholding, right? AkzoNobel doesn't own CAP in any way, no shareholding. What we have together is partnership as a technology franchisee, right? USC owns 57.85% of the business, the majority of the business, and so CAP PLC is a part of USC, right? So if you see, of course, USCN is also listed. So if you're looking at the group numbers for USCN, part of it includes CAP PLC and a couple of other companies that are within their group. So that's one. You also asked about, I think there was one brilliant question there actually. You said I didn't mention about CAP, Catholic stores, and MPEL. Okay. So yeah, I think I mentioned MPEL a bit, by the way. MPEL is our B2B industrial product. For me, I'm not showing pictures. MPEL is our industrial B2B product. It's important to us as at today it is one of the lowest contributor to our revenue, but it is one of the products that have the most significant importance if we see the kind of change that we believe is going to happen in the market over the next coming years, right? And so positionally, we are strategizing to be there. But yes, I mean, it's definitely a key part of our product portfolio. And like I said, we are number 2 in that space. But again, we intend to do a lot more than that. But that comes, because it's industrial, it comes a lot with some of the changes that we're expecting in the industrial space. Right? So that's on MPEL. On Caplux, so pre-merger, Caplux, is a paint brand on its own, right? So we have Caplux paint, right? Post-merger, Caplux has tended to more or less focus on surface application products, right? So like your screed, anything that you need to put on your wall to ensure that your paint comes out super, is what Caplux is now focused on, right? So we do a lot of, applicator, things, pre-painting application is what Caplux does. So, but I just mentioned screening as a very important place because now I see almost everybody as seen the light that it makes a lot more sense to screen before you paint. And also we are seeing a lot of design around POPs and all those kind of stuff. So those are the things that Caplux is now focused on, right? And the reason why that is essential is because we also do not want Caplux, because they operate within the same space, we don't want Caplux and Santex to keep eating ahead of themselves, right? So that's how we kind of manage that. Yeah. So do we have a Caplux store? We don't have a Caplux store. Our Caplux products are sold through all our Dulux color centers and Dulux color shops. Oh, backward integration. Okay, I think that was the most brilliant question you asked. And the reason why I said it's most brilliant is because it kind of tells me that, you had an insight into how other people outside of this market has grown. And it's an important piece if you are looking at the global paint and coating segment. A lot of the big players in the market, globally, grew because they are able to control their supply chain, which remain both backward integration and forward integration, right? People want to control, how quickly they can get resins, which if there's an important piece for you and things like that. So yes, we have, and as part of the Caplux team, as much more as we are a manufacturing entity, we also have a small group that is focused on, M&A type transaction, because the paint and industry coating segment is really, again, if you look at globally what people are doing, it's a lot of M&As in that space, and that could take you to backward integration, and it will also take you to forward integration. Forward integration means that, you could see a paint manufacturer that is also doing things around interior decoration, right? It's basically just taking it forward. So they're doing consulting. I'm selling paint to you. I'm also consulting. I'm telling you this is what you can do with those paints. You can make your own beautiful this way, So, you can go to the back and go to the front, right? right? So yes, is it going to be part of our history? It's one of the things we are actively looking at. So when we're looking at M&A, we're not just looking at an existing pin manufacturer, we're looking at things along the value chain as well. You know, do we have somebody today that is producing resins, which is a key, raw material for us, that we could bring into our fold, and acquire that business and use that to control our supply chain. I mean, like I said, those are conversations that is ongoing. When we find a company that is, provide the right offering and also at the right price, I think we'll pull the trigger. But yes, it's something we're actively working on.
Yes, thanks.
Number 4.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Dad from Covenant University, and I have 2 questions for you. Thank you for the presentation, brother. So my first question is, what do you think is the performance of the management of the company currently? Are they meeting their set targets and objectives and goals? And my second question is, do you have any set of structure for receiving customer feedback?
For what?
Receiving customer feedback.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So the first question is a bit tough because it's like you're asking me to write my own answer, right? So of course I won't tell you I've done terribly well. I won't tell you I've done terrible. I'll say I've done fantastic, right? But yes, but I think the numbers speaks for themselves, right? I think managers at the CAP management has done very well. It takes a lot to be number one, but it takes a lot more to stay as number one, right? And I think the focus every morning is just ensuring that we don't drop the balls and we don't slide to a position that is not dominant. It's one of the reasons why we are really chasing and we really just want to move from let's just extend stores. We are actually now pursuing a target to really just dominate the market. So yes, as of today, I think Marriott has done well. And I think in terms of plans for the future, I think it's even going to be better. Second question is, do we have a mechanism for taking feedback? Massive, yes. And that's in several ways. I mean, we have an active customer service that you can call. We have hotlines that you can drop anonymous, even within the system as well. All over the factory, you guys are not there, but I mean, you have boxes where people can drop feedback for employees. I mean, anonymously, you can drop anywhere. So yes, I mean, there are several mechanisms that we have a specific email chain just for complaints, right? So we just do that and send an email to the organization, and all that reports straight directly to Volaren. And it doesn't go to the head of customer service who can then say, I think this is our show, how do I manage it? It goes directly to the MD and then they can deal with the issues, no matter how trivial they are. So yes, we do.
Next question.
I don't know who's next.
Good afternoon. My name is Deborah Angel from University of Ibadan studying economics. I actually have 3 questions. And first one is there's a regulation for lead paints, the use of lead in paints.
We don't use it.
Yeah, so I was going to ask if there was any.
No. Not at all.
Alright. Second one is my question is on drivers. The second question is on drivers. And firstly is, what are the major cost drivers apart from your raw materials? Is there any unique thing that you spend on? That's one. The second one will be on foreign exchange drivers. You mentioned that you import dollar trade, and so I assume that that's one of the places that the foreign exchange comes in. Is there any other aspect that foreign exchange affects the business apart from the dollar trade and import of NPL? Then the last one is, so in FY22, the financial statements, there was a 35% increase in revenue that was matched by a 57% increase in income tax.
Which number? Which year, sorry?
FY22, that's what 2021
2021?
to 2022.
Okay.
Okay, so there was a 35% increase in revenue that was matched with 57% increase in income taxes, and the ratio is quite I was going to ask, what was like the driver in maybe other income or talk around of that increase your income tax that much?
Okay, so I'll need to check that and come back. So the first question is around there, and like I said, we don't use that. Second question is around what are the cost drivers apart from raw materials. I think raw material is our most important, is the most important driver of cost for us, and that is why when I talked about our process of tracking naked margin, it's the one that we put our attention on the most because that's our biggest cost driver. Foreign exchange, how has that impacted? Yes, on Dulux Trade side, but again, just some clarity on that. We have exposure to get the Dulux Trade in, right? But we don't have. So let me just say, for example. So let's say we're getting Dulux Trade 1 million liters. Let's say unit price is 1 million naira. Sorry, unit price is $1, right? So let's say you need $1 million to bring the 1 million liters, right? And let's assume that rate is, by the time you brought it in, rate is 600 naira, right? So we've used 100 million naira, right? So let's assume that product has a margin of 20%. So we sell it for 120 million, right? We make 20 million. Let's assume that the partnership between us and AXO is a split of whatever, take that number, say 50-50, right? So we are supposed to split 100 million and 100 million. Let's assume that by the time we finish splitting, rate has moved to 200, right? Meaning that from an AXO perspective, they expect that you should give them 10% on the 1 million that they're giving you from a dollar perspective, right? But it's not done that way, right? We don't take exposure to remittance of their profit. Whatever rate is the rate, and we declare what their percentage is on a naira basis, right? And we give them that money in naira. The responsibility to take it out, at whatever rate is there. So we don't have that exposure, right? And like you said, the exposure we have is just ensuring that we have FX availability to be able to procure so that our products are available at every point in time. So it's more from a product availability point of view, not exposure from rates moving and then we're exposed because we need to deliver certain numbers to our technical partners. The third question is around the numbers, and let's have a few minutes after. I can look at the numbers with you and then I'll be able to provide feedback. Because I wasn't sure whether it's a 2021 or 2022, but again, let's look at it after the session.
Next question.
My name is Carlos Silvio.
Sorry?
My name is Carlos Silvio.
Okay.
Economic student from Abia State University. So the first question I have is, you talked about the old cap. You made merger with another company. I did not get to know the name of the company. Then I want to know what was the product of cap, and then what was the main product of cap, and what was the main product of the second company. Then I want to also know how does this merger positively affect the old cap in terms of expansion and also growth. Then the next question I have is, Julius, you talk about Julius, one of the products of the company. Because I'm into a bit of painting in school and all of that. So I know Julius is very expensive than other products. Even Prestige, Julius is expensive than Prestige. And to me, I feel like it has really lowered the usage of Julius. But Julius is known like the rich brand. It's only the rich people that go for the Julius paint and all of that. People who don't have enough money want to for Julius. So how is a company trying to make sure that their product is used in all the sectors or the covered by this?
Okay, thank you. The first question is asking me the name of, the old cap, products of the old cap, and who the merger was with, and the products of the company that we merged with. And I don't think I'm going to answer that. I think you can check that out yourself. Apart from the fact that I covered it already, I think it should be part of what your research should be on. So let me help you, to dig deeper. So I won't attend to that one. Second one is around Dulux. Is that about Dulux? Or the third one? I think it's the third one that's about Dulux.
Yes, sir.
The second one is, what's the second question?
I asked you how will this merger positively affect?
Oh, okay, yeah. The impact of the merger. And again, I've spoken about that. I think it's one of the slides that I spent a bit of time on to show that, how the merger has impacted the business. If you see, I've shown you a lot of slides to show where the business had before the merger and how we've been able to grow different elements, even with old cap growing and then the new cap. But in addition to that, I also showed you a slide that shows that the old cap was focused on a particular business segment before, but the merger was with a business that operates in a different business segment, which then ensures that the new CAP has products, has brands that can, target, a wider section of the market, right? That's two. Number three, someone had asked a question about Caplux. And I remember saying that the reason why Caplux is now focused on pre-painting applications is because we don't want the two brands, because they both are in the standard segment, we don't want them to go head to head together. So I think that question as well, I've completely addressed it. I don't know how better to explain that the merger, we derived a lot of synergy, positive synergy from that merger, with the expansion in product portfolio that the new CAP can now deliver on, and also the fact that, even from a cost efficiency point of view, you can see I've shown you numbers around how we've been able to increase EBIT per employee and all that. So that speaks to some of the synergy that can derive from the merger. So definitely, I think I've answered that question. On the Dulux side, I'm not going to disagree with you. I completely agree with you, and that's why a lot of my conversation has been around spread rate, and I'm happy that we talked about being a user as well. I think that's one of the things you can probably try as well. If you would pick a Dulux brand and pick another brand, and then try to measure just with the number of liters you will use compared to other ones. That's one. Number two, what we are also trying to do, and I get that perception in the market about, this is a rich man's product. We hear that a lot, but it's also one of the reasons why we are doing the Business Academy, right? And I can't tell you how much more we are really focused on that program. Like I said, we realized that painters are now key decision makers within the value chain, and we are really just making people see the essence of why our products, from an offering point of view, from a cost per liter point of view, is more effective than some of the other brands out there. So that's what we're doing with that. We will not reduce the product quality, right? Because we're trying to compete on price. We really just want our products to compete on the quality that they are meant to deliver. But again, as we do that, we want to ensure that we are communicating effectively with key decision makers within the ecosystem to let them know the reason why A is priced this way and Dulux is priced this way. You have a follow-up question?
Thank you so much for answering my question very well. I wanted to ask, I wanted to talk about if you can change quantity and all of that, but you said, let me know that Dulux is based on quantity, the quality, than the price.
Yeah.
So that's why the quality is affecting the price.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next. I'm sorry. What's that number? Number 7. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sylvia Oguru from the University of Ibadan, Department of Economics. So I have 3 questions.
3?
Yes.
Don't worry, you are safe, sir.
So I would like to know who are CAP's major suppliers and sellers? What are the nature of its raw materials and how are they sourced? Are they sourced locally or are they imported? Also, I have a question, details on gender diversity. The paint and coating sector is more of a male-dominated sector. So I would like to know the ratio of male and female in terms of employees. And also, I would like to know if there are new innovations in terms of market diversification. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go, so let's try. I like gender issues, so let's try gender. So at the board level, I think we have 2 female. We have 6, we have 2 female. Here we have, there's a Rami here, there's Ifeoma here. This is a commercial head, this is a head lead is female, a commercial head is female. So this is 4th grade. I think in the entire organization, I think we have more female than men. Interestingly, production maybe not, right? But things around QC, things around the middle office, finance, legal, HR, we have a lot more female in those spaces. So that's on the legal.
I'd like to know the specific ratio of male.
I don't have that number. I don't have that number, but I can provide it. I don't have that number top of my head. I don't have that number top of my head. What are the other questions? Okay, who are our key suppliers?
Yes, and sellers.
Okay, so like I mentioned, our products are sold through our color shops and color centers, and our color shops and centers are managed by our partners who are scattered across Nigeria. In terms of suppliers, we get, a couple of our products are imported, but do we directly import a lot of the products? No. There are traders in Nigeria who already bring in the products and we buy from them locally, right? So we are indirectly exposed to the FX volatility and we don't have direct exposure. Supplier, you also take Absolute of South Africa as well, who is our supplier for the deluxe trade. Right, so those are the suppliers and sellers. The last point is around
the raw materials. You don't answer the question of the raw materials. What are the nature of the raw materials?
The nature? What do you mean? Type?
Yes, sir.
I don't want how you want me to describe type.
She was asked how is the raw material sourced.
But when you ask the nature of raw material, what do you mean by nature?
Yeah. What are the raw materials?
You want me to list out the raw materials that we use?
There's some of the major ones. You mentioned resin.
Resin is the most important one that we use, right? Which we use to make our bases. Yeah. That's the problem. The one that's the most significant. Again, we use a lot of our raw materials are dependent on, or let me say, our byproducts of hydrocarbon refinery, right? So again, if we have an effective refinery in Nigeria, probably we need to import a lot of things we import today, right? The reason we need to import them is also because as of today, we don't have an effective refinery. Even for our fuel, we are importing our fuel in the country. Yeah, so yeah.
The third question. Are there new innovations in terms of market diversification?
Yeah, there are, but again, I will be mute a bit on that because I consider it, slightly market sensitive. Are there new innovation? Yes, there are new innovation. Are we planning to expand our product portfolio? Yes, we have. And I mentioned some of the areas that we weren't in before, like wood care, like automobile, that we believe that we can do as much. But some of these things are tied to having a booming industrial segment, right? If you start making cars in Nigeria today, it will make sense for CAP to start doing paints for automobiles. But if you don't have that, then it makes no sense to do that, right? The same thing for other segments where we think can be interesting. If we have a boom in the industrial sector, I think there's a lot of product portfolio that we could expand into, right? So yes, those plans are there, but they are on ice until we start seeing some evolution within the market.
Thank you, sir.
Nobody.
Yes, sir. Good day, sir. My name is Apano Fenkatamutsi. I'm from Federal University of Technology, from Tesla. My question, I have two questions. I'll get the first one. The first one was, I wanted to know if the company's major supplier for raw material is a foreign company. But I want to understand the company's exposure to its effects in raw material.
Is that a question?
You've already
you're already addressed
asked another question.
The second question is, sir, from what you said, you want to the company is looking forward to diversify some different African countries. But before now, I haven't heard you mention any other African country apart from Nigeria. Do you have other countries in Africa where you are
Again, I intentionally refrained from naming countries because I also believe some of those things are market sensitive. And that's one of the things I said from the beginning, that I'm going to try to stay away from disclosing market sensitive information. But yes, I clearly mentioned the fact that the franchising agreement that we have with AkzoNobel today, even to sell Dulux and to produce Dulux and sell Dulux in those markets, covers 7 countries, in addition to Nigeria, that are in West and Central Africa, right? So, but again, I moved away from mentioning those names because I just believe that it's probably market sensitive, and we are very diverse here. I don't know who is working with my competitors and can divulge information. I say, I see those guys are trying to go to Sao Tome and Principe. Go and block them. So again, just extreme example, but that's one of the reasons why I'll stay away as much as possible from information that I think are a bit sensitive. But yes, we have that one.
Federal University of Department of Economics. Sir, thank you so much for the presentation and helping us to understand more about the company. So I have this question I want to ask. Earlier, you were mentioning some segments whereby the cap have been able to influence, like you have the products and they are doing well in this segment. But then there's a segment that you mentioned that that is yet to function in that aspect. You qualified it as something like, is it value segment, whereby you explain that this market is concerned about price and not quality.
Yeah.
Okay. As currently, if you should look at Nigeria majorly, with the current situation of the economy and also something I've seen everywhere, especially currently in Lokoja, I noticed that the rate of houses is increasing, and at the same time, people are painting. But one thing I discovered is that these people prefer to make their paints there. Paint it doesn't matter whether the paint lasts a year, actually. So I don't know if CAP is having any strategy to enter into this market and at the same time still keep their quality at a very cheap price that it can compete with other products in this market. Okay. Another question, sir.
Okay. Do you want to take that first or you want to answer? Want to answer that? You have another question?
Yes, I have a question.
That's the only question.
I have another question.
Yeah, please go with the second question.
Okay, I want to ask, sir, what are the corporate social responsibility that CAF is currently doing for the
Sorry?
The corporate CSR that the company now is doing for the post.
I answered that already.
Sir, the trades, I believe because there are every market that may their strengths and weaknesses and whatever trends and so. As a company located in this part of the world, sir, what are the trends that CAF is currently facing? The major trends, maybe in any aspect actually.
Okay, so again, I think I've answered that question because whether you are saying threats or you are saying challenges or you are saying whatever, it's just change of buzzwords, right? It's the same thing, right? The key challenge, the key threat to our business as we stand today, right, is FX will be number one, right? And I think I've mentioned that a couple of times, particularly because we have key raw materials that are import dependent. I think another thing we like to think as a potential risk, but it's just there, is our partnership with AkzoNobel, right? Which we don't think is a risk, but we like to put it as a risk. And we sometimes wake up in the morning and say, what if, like a marriage, or what if somebody wakes up this morning and say, I'm not doing it again, right? So it's a risk that is there. We don't think it will materialize, but we also like to think of it as a risk. And because of that, we deal, and that affects how we deal and guard that relationship, right? Just ensure that both parties still believe that there are benefits to be derived from both sides. It's one of the reasons why we continue to drive the growth of both the Dulux trade and the Dulux, the protective packs in the country. So yes, those probably, I would say number one is the most significant. Number two, yes, it will be a key one if it materializes, right? But we don't think it will materialize just because of how far gone we've been there. Like most people, can people that have been involved in 30 years of marriage wake up today and say they don't want to be together? Yes, but the likelihood is maybe less than somebody that has been 2 years of marriage or 3 years of marriage, right? Just using that point to drive it home, right? So we think of it as a risk one, and that influences how we try to manage that relationship, but we don't think it's something that will materialize. So that's second one. I think the point, you then asked that point around, do we want to do the dogfight? No. Sorry, and again, I put it there because that the value segment which you described is number one. There's a lot of counterfeiting in there, right? In the value, in those segments we call value, is where you have a lot of counterfeiting. It's the place where you have a lot of people saying, what is in paint? It's not just to mix this chemical with this chemical, and me, I'll produce my own paint. We're not going to operate in that segment, right? Because again, the mindsets or the tools that you need to function efficiently if we are in a particular segment is probably not the same tool that you need to function in another segment. So the tool that we have right now, we believe that the optimal use, both in terms of our people, our equipment, the capacity that we have, is to focus on the brands or the segment that we are currently operating in. And so that's number two. Number three is we genuinely believe that we should be a company that delivers value and deliver a specific product offering instead of just going to the market with no value proposition and just competing on price, right? So that's the reason why we're not going to move to that segment. And whether you like it or not, for people who've studied brands before, there's a lot of brand dilution that comes with even if you call it a different brand. But if today people knows you as as someone that, it's the same way people say, if you go to China China can, which is true. If you go to China and tell China that, see, I want the best grade of this particular brand, of this particular product, they can produce it. But a lot of people will go there and say, see, just give me anything. As long as it looks like iPhone, just bring it. You know, so it's the same thing. Once people begin to know that you now operate in that segment, you can't help but have some of your, you know, your standard high quality products also getting diluted just because of, you know, perception. So we'll stay away from it. I'm not sure if that is clear. Yeah.
My name is Sam Azor from the Economics Department from Clifford University. Clifford University. So, those some of my questions have been answered already. But there's still something, I think you mentioned it at the beginning of the presentation. So I just want to, I didn't get that, so I don't want to, for you to say that again. What I want to know is, I want to know what your name is and the office you occupy in this company.
My name?
Yes, sir. And also, what does your office contribute to the office, to the company?
Okay. Okay, so my name is Jimmy Shuriala. I work with the strategy and transformation team within CAP. How does that team fit into the OCAP, right? So it's a lot of, we do a lot of stuff. I think we're more involved in the strategic bit. It's more around looking into the future. I mean, I think that comes from the name. You can generally read what we're about from the name, the strategy transformation. A lot of the business are focused on today, right? And that's important. You need to live today before you can see tomorrow, right? But the team, we also have a team that is focused on looking into the future, looking at what are people, looking outside of Nigeria, what are people doing well, how are people executing, what can we localize, what can we do here, how can we position the business for greater challenge, I mean, what is our competitor doing, how can we shape strategy to be better, how can we leverage technology. So a lot of that piece is what we do, right? So CAP has put together a team of people that is not focused on fighting fires on a daily basis, right? Although we get involved a bit, right? But our real focus is just around what does the future look like for this business, and how can we ensure that we keep dominating. So that's what the part I belong to.
So my name is Mubarak and I am actually representing Mr. So my question actually directed to your financials actually. So we actually realized that before the merger, we have been having moderate acquisitions, like moderate capex before that particular level.
I can't hear, sorry.
Come forward.
Come forward, yeah.
So I said my questions are actually directed to financials. So before your merger, right? So you've been having moderate capex before the merger.
Moderate?
Like capex around 100 million primarily. So the moment after the merger, starting from that merger period, which was 2021 with Portland. So we have been realizing that we have actually been making substantial merger acquisitions since that moment. So the question is, what's the primary reason for that, and should we be expecting it in the future? Again. So my second question is, we realize that your cost of sales is, it actually has some components within it. So cost of raw material consumed is a very much substantial part of that component. It actually took up over 80% of the component. So the main thing I actually want to ask is there any way we get the specific list of items that actually drive this particular number?
That drives what?
This particular number.
That drives my COS.
Cost of sales.
My COS is made as the most significant. But I also have direct labor cost as well, direct production cost. So I mean, for people producing the products, there is a charge that will go into cost of sale. There is also the cost of delivering it to the party. So there is a part of it that is distribution, there's a part of it that is labor, and there's a part of it that is raw material.
Yes.
All that forms my COS.
So the primary attention is actually on the raw material, like those line items that actually drive that particular amount.
Okay, so again, that would be difficult to give. One is because of sensitivity, right? But two is just also because of the complexity, right? So if I describe it to you, right, number one is think of paint as cooking, right? To get to a particular color is a combination of different pigments, different color, different additions to get to a particular point. If you ask me breakdown, although you won't get to that level, but you are exactly saying, how is your jollof rice tasting so nice, right? And which I'm not going to reveal. Two is also because of the complexity, in the sense that think of what we sell is color, right? I mentioned when I started about the fact that I had an operational experience, right? And I went into a business and tried to manage that business. That business, we had how many SKUs? 18 SKUs that we sell to the market, meaning that I have 18 BOMs. BOMs basically mean bill of material, meaning that if I want to produce 1 liter of this product, I say, okay, add 5 Rodo, add 3 Maggi, like that. That's how you produce, right? If you want to say, for people who cook commercially, say, if I want to cook 1 pot of soup, maybe you don't know how to cook, and somebody has written it to you that you want to get married and you really don't know how to cook. Say, this is how you cook like for just buy this. They would have measured it for you. That is the same thing as B1, right? So I have 18 SKUs in that business. Now we have, I think, about 1,004 SKUs in CAP, because what you're selling is paint, and colors can be different. You can come and say, yellow is yellow. When it comes to us, yellow is not yellow, because it could be light, it could be dark, it could be this, it could be that, right? So it's not a detail that I don't even think you need, right? I don't expect that you need that granularity, and at no point, even if you become the chief equity researcher of the best investment firm in Nigeria, you won't need that level of analysis to be able to do what you are required to do in this challenge. So, sorry, I can't provide.
How about the CAPEX?
The what?
CAPEX.
Oh yes, CAPEX, yeah. So what you have mentioned is, again, we can look at it to talk of specificity, but what I believe, number one, is that what has driven CAPEX, over the most recent period would be 2 things. One, I mentioned what we've done to innovatively change how shops are done, or how you can proactively go into a store and the store can give you the color, whichever color that you want, right? It then means that we moved a key part of our production, which is called tinting, right? Paint is really about 2 things. There's a base and there's a colorant, which comes together, right? So what we do in most of our shops is that we move the base to them, right? We supply them with the base, and you are able to go as a customer to just say, based on the color that you want, the color shop can mix up the colorant for you and say this is your paint, right? In doing that, what we've also now done with all our color shops is that we provide them with tinting machines, right? So a key part of the CAPEX you are seeing is because we are now deploying tinting machines to all our color shops, right? That's one. Number 2 is also because we also now set up an automated line, right? Prior to now, our paint making is mostly manual, right? Where you have people slaving and trying to achieve a particular color and checking and say, does it look like it, and things like that, right? But it's now automated. We've set up an automated line that does automated tinting, and you don't need any hands to do that. So I would believe that a key part of the CAPEX is setting up the factory, that automated line, but part of it is also the fact that we're now deploying tinting machines to the stores.
Yes, right? The main question is, should we be expecting that deploying?
Yeah, so if you follow my thoughts around the fact that we are now chasing retail dominance, we're trying to increase our retail concentration and reduce the number of kilometer radius that you need to travel before you get to our stores. As more stores that we get into, we will then deploy tinting centers to them, right? Are we going to also think about expanding our automated line? Yes, it would happen, because it improves efficiency, but again, it also just ensures that you have consistent product quality, because again, there are things that machines can do that humans cannot do, right? And consistency is one of them, right? No matter how hardworking you are, sometimes you are just tired, right? Because your body is your body. Machines don't get tired most of the time. And so if you ask the machine to say mix 1A plus 2B plus 3C together, that's what the machine will do every point in time at every time. And it's not going to be a function of whether my wife made me sad in the morning before I came to work, or I really don't know. I asked for a loan and they didn't approve my loan. So again, we would like to do that just to ensure that we stay ahead of the curve, we stay ahead of the market, and we continue to develop act well.
So my question is basically on the ESG. So since the advent of UN's SDG going to climate action, SDG 13, I want to ask if there's any policy by CAF to tame the greenhouse emission. And secondly, if there's any action on recycling. So thirdly, I want to ask on, I noticed that there are lots of debt in 2022. So I want to ask on the rationale for this debt.
Debt?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Debt.
In 2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay, again, let's look at the numbers after the session and then I can speak to it.
Okay, so for you, greenhouse emission.
So again, it's one of the areas that we're trying to improve on, and I'm not going to stand here and tell them, we're perfect, everything is good or rosy. It's one of the things we're trying to improve on, and at this point in time, we started a process to start tracking our carbon emission and and really just using that as a KPI to see how we develop around the process. Also trying to, we're at the final stages of actually bringing an ESG manager into the business so that we have a key focal point to just try things, deliverables that need to happen regarding ESG governance.
So for the recycling, is there any action for recycling?
What do we recycle right now? So usually we don't. No, I don't think right now we do have. No, I don't think. So what typically happens is, we sell to color shops, and then they buy the drums and the cans from the stores. And if I get the point around, if we have any campaign that will mean, if you finish using your paint, you can actually bring it back and get some box or take it somewhere so that it's properly disposed of. It's a good point. You don't have it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
What number are we now? The number is 13? 13? Okay. Okay, Pastor, 14? Okay, thank you. 15 has been answered? Okay, I think I've been answered.
Babcock University. So I'm focusing on your customer base. Pre-merger, how was it? Was it more of corporate? You said real estate also, you get into this business. Was it more of corporate and less of individuals? Or the other way around? And post-merger, is it more of corporate, like real estate, and less of individuals and otherwise? And then these 3 states, you've not mentioned all of them. Can you tell us 3 states that are not present yet? Yes.
I have to go back Okay, so pre-merger, you are asking if we have more customer base, we have more corporate clients than others. So again, our products are sold through our color centers and color shops, right? Which are partner shops, right? So those are the people that we sell directly to, right? And that's a key part, it's the most significant part of our revenue. We seldom have corporate customers who are embarking on projects, right? Which are maybe the ones that you're talking. So maybe Access Bank will come to me and say, we just opened a store in Maiduguri, we want to paint it. Or somebody just built a mall and say, okay, I just set up a mall in Enugu, and I want to buy. So those are some, special projects that sometimes we sell directly to. But most often than not, our sales are done through our color shops and our color centers, right? But that said, the question you asked is very valid, right? Because the way we are set up today, we have very low visibility in terms of the end users of our products, right? Because if I sell through my color shops and my color centers and they are selling to people, I really do not know whether they're selling to retailers or architects or this or that. And that's, if you have that information, it could help you from a strategy point of view to say these are the guys consuming my products and this is the reason why they are consuming my product. And because of that, you can then begin to use that to shape your strategy. So we don't have that today, but it's something that we're already working on. So one of the things we've deployed to all our partners, or let me say we are deploying because it's going to kick off in January 2024, is something we are deploying a business intelligence tool. We call this HBI basically. What it helps is that it interfaces their sales into our ERP, right? And I can then begin to get information regarding who they are selling to, right? So I'm not just saying, oh, this store is doing 500 million in revenues. I can say these are the people that 500 million is coming from. And although it is, it is an indirect sales, but again, it helps me to know who is consuming that 500 million, which in a way, I can then take that information and use that information to say, okay, if these people are using this paint this way, right, can we increase, how it is used in other parts? Sometimes it's just really saying, okay, we noticed that in Akwa Ibom, people are painting, I'm just giving a funny example. People tend to paint XYZ, but we notice that that is not happening. Is there a way our salespeople can begin to talk to, to people in Ogun to start applying paints in this way as well, so that we can also grow that segment of the market, right? So that visibility will help us, but today we don't have it. So that's how I'll answer that. So right now we sell directly to the color shops. Special projects, yes, we do, and special clients. We have a ton of them on the industrial side, Chevron, particularly when we talk about Empel, and a couple of the other oil and gas guys. We have other corporate customers like the banks, like I said, sometimes it's just branch opening, sometimes it's setting up a new mall, which they try to buy directly from us and not buy from the shops. But most of our revenue today comes directly from the shops, right? But what we're trying to do better with that, because agreements with the concern you raised, is get a bit more visibility around who our end customers are, so that we can take that information and use it to sharpen our decision making going forward. Exactly. Okay, but then you asked me about where we are not present. We are not present in Zamfara, we are not present in Yobe, and we are not present in I can't say, my hand is really bad. Sorry. Yeah, Taraba, Yobe, and Zamfara. Next question, please.
My name is David Ajayi from Federal University, Oye Ekiti, Department of Finance. So,
have you asked a question before? Oh, it was the
my question, I have two questions. My first question is, what are the risks involved in buying your shares, like the shares in CAP PLC, and how do you encourage your investors to buy more shares in your company? That's my first question.
I'm not sure I can answer that question because number one, you have to notice that in terms of the steps, right? The points where CAP actually benefits in terms of activities that's happening in the exchange is when I launch an IPO, right? That's when your money comes to you. That's when you actually raise capital, right? If you bought my shares and in way, you're tired of it's not giving you the kind of yield you want and you want to move it on, you can sell to people. That's a secondary market. It doesn't affect, CAP as a business, right? You understand? It doesn't, but again, that said, does that mean that we are not sensitive to the market? Of course we are sensitive to market, and I think that brings me to the question he had asked about what measures do we track, what metrics do we track as a business, and I told him that yes, we have specific metrics, but we are also aligned to metrics that are sensitive, that the market sees as sensitive and the market will like. So do we do anything specially to manage, when you say investors, our investors are the current shareholder, right? What do we do to encourage them? Of course, one of the reasons why we continue to pay dividends. CAP PLC is one of the constant dividend paying companies over the years, and you can check that out. I think it's a very good dividend yield over the years. So if you are in the market for the function of the dividend yield perspective, then it's probably one of the shares you will consider buying, right? So maybe that's one of the ways we encourage prospective investors to consider our shares, for people to pick up our shares. What are the risks? You also asked me what are the risks of picking up my shares. I think the risk is you need to identify the risk. I can't say what the risk is because I'm not in a position to offer financial advice, but again, you will need to kind of get the financials of the business, understand, it's part of what you're doing right now, understand the fundamentals, try to see what the outlook is, and come up with, I think this is the risk of holding these shares is. And risk is also a function of what your objective is. Your risk, the risk that you see is meant to address the objective you intend to achieve. So risk in itself is not a blank check, right? So if I'm trying to get to Abuja, and it will be what is the risk that I will not get to Abuja, right? It just can't be any risk, right? So it has to be. And the reason why I'm saying that is that for an investor that's coming to the market, you're coming to the market with an objective. It's either you're thinking, I really don't care about dividends. I'm just for long-term appreciation. So I'm really just looking for guys, long-term outlook. They are X today. I think by year 10, they will blow out. This is their plan. I know them well. This is what's going to happen. And it could be that, I'm just looking for, I don't even care whether, your share price is growing as long as you are giving me my dividend. Yeah. So the risk is then going to be around what are your objectives. So you need to be, as an investor, you need to say, this is the reason why I'm coming to the market. This is the reason why I'm looking to buy a share. I'm trying to buy it from this point of view. And you then need to then identify and, the risk that is associated with that particular objective and see whether that's, buying my share that addresses that.
Okay, my second question is, what is your risk appetite? In the sense that, what level of risk is the company willing to take in terms of investments?
I'm not sure that question, again, is that the last question? Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure that question is for me. You're asking me a question as if I'm an investor. I'm not an investor, right? So and the reason why I'm saying that is because, see, if I'm a financial advisor, and you come to me and say, hey, Mr. X, my parents just died, I have a $1 million spare, and it's just sitting somewhere. I'm trying to put it into good use. I'm trying to invest it in the market, and I just don't want it sitting in the bank, right? I will be the one to then ask you, what's your risk appetite, right? To then say, do you want things that are highly risky and they can potentially give you lots of return, or do you want things that are less risky and maybe they will give you lots of return, or do you just want something like, maybe I buy a bond, I have a predetermined coupon that is coming to me at a specific time, in which case your capital is not at risk. right? So those are the type of scenario that your question would play out. But as an operating entity, right, that I'm producing products, I'm selling products, if you ask me what my risk appetite is going to be from an operating perspective. What kind of risk can CAP live with? You know, can I live with and I'm not sure, and that's diverse. It's a lot. I mean, it could be, but there will be operational risk. There will not be risk that is associated with the particular shares or whatever. They're just operational risks that will guide. Oh, you know, maybe price is going off the roof, or maybe my raw material is not available. How do I safeguard about that? How do I ensure my products are available? You know, things around that. So, but I don't think the question, as you asked it, is targeted at an operating entity. I think you've asked your two questions as if I'm a financial advisor, and I'm not. You are. No. You're not. It's not while standing here.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Jonathan. So I'm from the Department of Economics, University of Port Harcourt. So
University of Port
Harcourt.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to ask a question. So you said something about tinting paint for your customers and then ensuring wide spread rates at low cost, spread rate of your paints around the globe at low cost. And then you also said something about creation of Painters Academy. Yeah. So I want to ask, apart from these three things, what else or what other services that do you offer that your competitors are yet to engage with?
Okay, and let me start with an analogy, right? If you drive, right, I'm going to say that there's a reason why the rear view mirror, you always have this small mirror that lets you look at the back, is much smaller than your mirror driving to the front, right? And I said that because if I spend my time just chasing what my competitors are doing, although it's important, the same way it's always good to look at your rear view to check, okay, you know, but it's not something to dwell on. So, like I said, the reason why we as a team, I mean, like I said, strategy and transformation, is because CAP has put together a team of people to just focus on this is where we like to get to in the future, and just having them focus on that and not focus on fighting the fires every day, driving product availability, focus on specific targets, getting to particular place and all that, right? So that team is focused on just looking at the business as it is today, determining where the business wants to get to in the next, can be whatever time frame, 5 years, 10 years, and there's been a couple of things that we've designed in terms of where we like to be to in 5 years, right? And the team comes up with, where we can be in 5 years and also how to get there, right? So that's what we do, right? Are there things that we've done in the markets today that people have copied? Yes, and it's a lot of them, but it's not generic to us. I think Nigeria as a market, people wait for an innovator, and once you have somebody innovate something, everybody will roll it out. That's who we are as a people. I mean, we just wait for somebody to do that thing, and then it's easy for everyone to do. You can see that everywhere. It's not peculiar to paint and coating. Once you have OP, then you are going to have, all of a sudden, everybody just believes that they can do OP, and once you have this, everybody believes they can do. So what they need to do is not think about if people are replicating what you do. Is ensuring that you keep setting the pace and separating yourself from the others. Because whatever it is that you call an accolade today is going to be copied before you wake up. So you can't rest on your laurel. It's part of the team why the team is together to keep thinking about how we can continue to evolve and stay ahead and stay ahead of the curve. But those are the things the initiatives that we have now. I think the Painters Academy is probably going to be massive. It's one of the things we're also trying to do, and it's going to come from what that Ogasa. There's one brilliant chap over there that asked me about visibility into our end customers. Is something that we're going to tie into that, which we're already thinking about, creating loyalty points around our products, right? But we can't build loyalty points around partners because they are not the end users. Once we are able to get that business intelligence tool that then tells us this is how end customers are buying our products, we can show. It's not something that is common in the paint. I mean, it's not even available in the paint market right now. But we can actually build a serious loyalty program around the consumption and the use of our products to drive loyalty and people's staying on our brand. Yeah, but again, I can't let out everything out of the bag. There are a lot of things that we're planning to come up with that will roll out over time. And what's important is knowing that there is a part of the team that is all they are focused to, they are focused on doing within the organization.
I'm the 27th economic student from Western I'm the economic student from Western Is what do you consider as the company's greatest achievement?
Sorry?
What do you consider as the company's greatest achievement or accomplishment?
So I think it's a question that is relative, right? Because it depends on the angle that you are coming from. Accomplishment is in different folds. I mean, one is the fact that the company is number one. You could take that as an achievement. Like I mentioned, being number one, staying number one takes a lot, and it's one of the biggest achievements of the company. We've been able to increase revenue year on year, increase profits year on year, pay dividends year on year. Those are achievements. On the production side, improving production efficiency, and it's something that we've done year on year. But again, I think what is important is that once an achievement is done, it is done, right? You need to move away from that. You can't rest on your achievement of yesterday, and that's the way corporate is. It's not CAP. It's not CAP specific, right? If you close today as your highest revenue year ever in your business, right? Once the achievement is done, is your achievement, right? It is the reason why when people are pitching to you, right? So take, say you go to you're looking for an investment banker to put together a deal for you. You want to do a deal. And they put together their plaque and they say, oh, this is 2023, or we're best investment banker in 2018, 2017. And you can't see anything recent. You begin to ask yourself, what is happening to these guys, right? So again, once an achievement is done, it's done, right? So there are a lot of achievement that I could reel out and say, yes, we've done. There's been no merger of two paint companies in Nigeria before what we did. So there's a lot of things I can reel out as achievements of the business, right? From profit point of view, from revenue, operationally, different things. But they have what they are, the achievements. We keep our eyes forward, we continue to chase, and we believe that there's a lot of scope to even grow the company significantly more than what it is today. So that's the bigger focus for us. Next.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Adeyemi Tevulade, Department of Management and Accounting, Obafemi Awolowo University. So, this is my question. You talk about your strategy of widening your portfolio, like growing your distribution network and portfolio expansion. So, I want to ask that, should we be expecting any new products? Most importantly, in the mid-term market, should we be expecting any new products? Number two, you talk about the industrial products in the marine industry. So, what are your plans to disrupt this industry? And is it going to take place in the nearest future? With this thing, like, are you going to actualize these plans in the nearest future? I'm talking about 5 years' time. So, the next one I want to ask about is the technological innovation. You talk about leveraging on data. So, and I want to ask that, what are the parameters you likely to consider, and are these things unique to CAP alone? that they are not exposed to your competitors, so that it's going to be a competitive disadvantage in the long run?
So thank you very much for that question. I think the first part of it is with respect to, and I'm not sure which one I should take first. Your first question, your second question is about leveraging on technology and whether those initiative is going to be CAP specific or not. If you recall, what I had mentioned is the fact that the most area that we are going to apply data analytics is with respect to our quest for retail dominance, right? Which is improving or increasing our retail concentration in the country, right? And the peculiarity of this is that I am picking data points and I'm analyzing stores. If I'm going to develop an algorithm that tells me key parameters that a particular area should have before I can predict to a high degree that my paint will sell there. The historical data that I'll be using are stores that I'm currently selling in, right? And so if I've analyzed that and I say, okay, these are the parameters for store A, store B, store C, store D, and I can cluster them together and I can produce a cluster that says, oh, stores that have this kind of parameter fall in this cluster, they fall here. I can then look at the cluster and say, okay, people that are grouped together here, interestingly, all of them are doing very well. It will mean that people who exhibit or stores who have that parameter, whether it's in the area of population or type of people who live there, means that there is a tendency that this, it correlates with selling more paint. And I'll be able to do that and then develop an algorithm that will help me with predictive analysis. So in that situation, because the data I'm basing it on is CAP specific, right? Even then, it would be more useful for CAP to execute on that, right? So I would think that it's going to provide the company with a lot of competitive advantage. If you want to run it for another business, I think it would be more proper because parameters could be different, right? And what's driving your sales growth in a particular area could be different. So it's not something that you could use for A and you could use for B. So it'll be CAP specific, and I think it's going to give the company a lot of competitive advantage as we roll that out. The first question is around, again, sorry. Oh, if we're going to be launching new products. Yes, we're focused on launching new products. It's part of it, but like I said, we're not just going to launch products just because we want to launch products, right? The key areas that we believe that we need to mine significantly more is in the industrial space. And a lot of things we would like to do in that space depends on how the industrial sector in the country evolve with some of the policy framework that we are seeing now. If we have a situation where over the next few years we are now seeing policy drive to drive the industrial sector, you're seeing infrastructure, infrastructure growth. All of a sudden, we're saying, okay, let's now start assembling Volkswagen in Nigeria. Mazda decided to set up a plant here. Then it would make sense to set up a specific plant just driving automobiles, automobile paint, right? But to the essence that you've not seen that, you can't say, okay, let me just get there and start selling automobile products, right? That said, if we go to another market, like I said, we currently have a franchisee agreement that covers other markets. If we go to other markets, right, as part of what we are talking about with geographic expansion, and we see that those markets actually have a booming industrial sector, right, where they have a local assemblage of maybe vehicles, automobiles, which, they're in some of those markets that we're looking at. We can then say, okay, we can develop an auto product who will just be focused on export, although there's no local sales for it, right? So a lot of these things are in the works, but then there are things that needs to happen once, you'll be able to trigger them only when the particular event crystallizes.
Like the market, now we have like the need of the markets, the country that you are targeting the markets.
Okay, we talked about that. I said I won't be able to say that. Yeah, but you will see. There are specific countries in West and Central Africa, but I won't be able to disclose names. But yes, they are something that we are going to actualize. We are about closing out on one. We'll do some sales this year, but it will really start to.
Please, I think that's going to be.
Are there still questions?
I think there's no more.
Excuse me. Okay, maybe you ask the last question.
Last two. Let them ask it together.
Let them take it together. So we have attend to the question.
Alright, good afternoon. My name is Maya Wakaladi, representing Obafemi Awolowo University from the Department of Management and Accounting. Alright, so looking through your financials, there was something significant. In the year 2020, there was zero payment of dividend, and that was pre-merger. And then subsequently, post-merger in 2022, there was scrip dividend. This definitely would have sent signals to the market. So I wanted to ask, are these pre- and post-merger effects, are there any other possibility of it happening in the future? Say you have intentions to retain cash in order to fund some investment projects. So that's one. And
Okay,
then,
so now, like I just asked, so they are one-time events because of the merger event.
because of the merger.
Yeah, so you can go with
All right,
that.
thank you very much. So second question, still on the financials. A major line item popped up in the year 2021-2022, which was the imported finance facility. So I want to ask, what is the component of that particular line item? Because it grossly affected your finance cost. Because between 2022 and 2021, finance costs grew by over 400%. I think it was about 468% in your financials. So yes, I would like more clarifications on that particular import finance facility.
Okay, so import Dulux Trade was going to take a hike in price, and we decided to take on a significant volume into the country before the hike would go up by AXO in South Africa. And that's the reason why we took that import finance facility just to facilitate higher imports of products for that particular time. Again, it's because of that particular event. It's a one-off event. It's not going to be something that happens all the time.
Good afternoon. My name is Kalthar Mumbai. I'm an economics Kalthar Mumbai.
Sorry.
I'm an economics student from Panama University. So you've answered both of it, so I'm just going to ask a very simple question. Do you have a standard receivables collection period and payables payment period? And have you been able to achieve more favorable terms with regards to those periods compared to your competitors?
I believe so. So actually, most of our payments are cash. But again, with established partners that's been with us for years, we do have certain payment days, which is quite short. It's within 45 days. And what we see, I think I showed that number as well. You saw that number in my 9-month financials, where I mentioned that we're having a declining cash conversion cycle, which relative to our numbers in 2022. And again, that just speaks directly to some of the macro headwinds that everybody is facing in the country right now, which makes it a bit more difficult for partners to sell quicker, and because they are not selling as quickly as they should be selling, then it's making it difficult for them to cover their receivable position. But it's not from any other thing. So it's not so significant, but we track it all the same.
I think on that note,
Round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. It's been an insightful session.
Yeah.